I'm Adam Weil, partner at White Rabbit Group. Welcome to the Pixel Perfect podcast, where we share knowledge, experiences, and motivations from creatives and entrepreneurs. Today, I'm joined by Carl Smith. I would describe Carl as a joyful community builder, a philosophical futurist, and of course, the leader behind the Bureau of Digital, which is a community of several hundred agency leaders, for those of you who don't know, where they're sharing wisdom, they're venting, they're collaborating, building friendships. There's a whole lot of love in there, and I've even heard it described as a therapy group for agency leaders. And for almost a decade, he's hosted hundreds of workshops, masterminds, and conferences for agency leaders, really giving them a front row seat into how our industry is evolving. He's also the author of the new book, Built to Change, which is all about designing the agency of tomorrow. So really excited for this discussion. I hope you all enjoy. Dude, I'm excited to talk with you, man. Like I was, consuming a lot of I've been consuming a lot of your content. I'm one of those lurkers, I'm a little shy on LinkedIn, right? But I read. And, obviously the ones that you had featured in your LinkedIn are ones that I feel like are still really relevant. I'm sure you've done other talks. I haven't listened to all your podcasts, but I'd love to get into that today. Like the future of agencies, what does that look like? The makeup of the team. I really want to try to go deep in that and pull your brain out and just, hear your thoughts. So that's my goal, is just to hear from you, mostly on what the future of an agency looks like. If that sounds good to you.
That's where I'm spending all my free time. It's actually my fun place now, to try to be Nostradamus and see where we're going, because nobody knows and nobody can call bullshit on me.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting. The main changes that I think we have to accept, right?
Yeah.
Are that it's not about expertise anymore. I'm sorry, Baker. It's not about expertise anymore, right? It's more about wisdom. It's more about domain knowledge. It's clients are as smart as we are, right? They got the same tools.
Yeah.
And you may or may not have heard where I ended up in the hospital and I felt I knew more than the doctor, because I was researching everything as it happened and reading medical journals and stuff. Clients are the same way now. So it's the rise of the savvy client, and we have to be ready for this. And how do we get ready for this? Not by knowing what they already know, but by helping them decide what they should do, not what they can do. And I think that's the big difference. Like, especially big clients, they never trust their internal teams, right? And their internal teams get frustrated, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy where they can't quite do stuff. So they need somebody from the outside who's going to be that voice of reason.
Yeah.
Right. Who's going to share that stuff. So I think that's a big part. I also see agencies getting smaller. I think we get significantly smaller, because we have to hyper specialize. We have to hyper focus, because, and this, right? It's like an example. I went to my primary doctor. I had all of the supplements, had all my training routines, had all the stuff that I do. Through ChatGPT, I put together this little report for him. I said, "Hey, dude, look at what I did," right? And it's just a physical.
Yeah.
And he's going through looking at it. He's like, "This is amazing." And then he pointed at one thing and he went, "But this is total bullshit." And I'm like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, adding fiber is not going to help you with these supplements. It's going to cause them to flush out of your body. Like, whatever AI tool told you that is totally wrong." And then I went and researched it, and he was right. So that's where the domain knowledge, we have to be smart enough to call bullshit on AI, and clients will hire us for that. I'm convinced, right? And then we partner with other small agencies who have other hyper specialized, abilities when we have new needs. It's not, outputs and outcomes are very important. I think we ride shotgun with clients going forward. I don't think we're getting a handoff and coming back. I think we're on the trip together.
So let me summarize kind of what I'm hearing. It,
I
it
can
sounds
put it
like
in different on you.
yeah, no, it's good. I want to make sure I'm tracking it all. So one is the domain expertise, right? Is going to be really important. Actually, let's start from the top. What was the first thing that you mentioned? It's the agencies.
Um,
Yeah, go ahead.
Probably that. Yeah, we're moving from expertise to wisdom,
Expertise to
right?
wisdom, right? And that's where the hyper specialization really comes into play because that's
Yeah,
where that domain expertise can call out the BS from AI,
right.
right?
And the wisdom to know if you should or shouldn't do something
That's
that
right.
AI tells you to do.
That's right. So it's sort of the prioritization almost
Uh-huh.
and the choosing of what not to do
Yeah,
where
I
that
was sharing
age.
this with a client the other day, not a agency, but like somebody who's a client, high up at Google, and we were talking about it, and I just said, I mean, it's Gordon Ramsay. You got to have a smart person at the pass who knows what it's supposed to look like, right? Who knows what it's supposed to taste like? Who knows what the experience is supposed to be like?
Hmm,
It's no longer enough just to hand over the thing that was requested because
hmm,
that's a liability, right? It could not only not perform well, it could get you sued.
right.
So you need somebody, a human, an agency, to
Yeah.
be able to look at it and say, this needs to go back in the oven for a little while, right? Whereas clients right now,
Hmm,
and we see it in the Bureau of Slack, right? Some client just dumped 40 pages of content on an owner and or an agency, and they're looking at it and they're like going, after the fourth page, this becomes really weird. But everybody just, they took it and they handed it off, but nobody looked at it.
hmm. Yeah, see, I wonder this is where like the Nostradamus thing is interesting, right? Because I would imagine the CMOs in these companies are going to think that they know what to do. Like, I think that they're going to be the ones that they can go, okay, I can look at 10 things that the AI is telling me and decide this is the top priority. So, what gives you the confidence that the agency is basically going to be the one to do that versus maybe an alternative perspective would be the agency using AI or the CMO using AI and then selecting from an array of options internally?
I think there are a few things. It's a great question. I think the main thing is they won't be able to keep up to speed. They're going to be so overwhelmed in their day to day and all the other things that are pulling at them within that large organization that while they think they're going to have a few hours to sit down and figure it out, they're going to be scattered. And
Mm,
we've seen this
right.
already. Um, Agency or clients who decide they're going to do it in house and they went out with pitches. I've heard this story 4 or 5 times over the past 6 months. They go out for pitches, agencies show up, they share the cost. The client goes, "We're just going to do this in house," and then they show back up 4 months later and
Mm,
say it's off the rails.
mm,
Like we thought we knew where we were going. So I think there will be a season of what you're
mm,
saying, but I think it'll be short lived
mm,
because first of all, they don't trust their own teams and they will start to blame each other. And then I've heard this phrase so many times, this is too important. Let's find somebody to help.
mm,
Right. So I think that's a huge part is just that that person who is that CMO or director of marketing or
mm,
whatever, they're not going to have the extra time to do the research to find out what changed 2 weeks ago. So they're going to be acting on
mm,
information from 4 weeks ago. And that information has changed, and what used to work doesn't work anymore. So
right.
I also think we're going to have shared KPIs with clients. I think this is an accountability requirement. I think accountability pricing, which is something I've been playing around with too, is this idea that if we're truly connected to the client, we've always said we wanted to be real partners. We never meant it. We wanted the transaction. We wanted the cash for the thing and get the hell out of my face, right? And maybe we were a little nicer about it. We were shooting pool and having a beer, but the reality was we were transactional. Now we really have to be collaborative.
Yeah.
And I don't think it ends at the delivery of a product. I think there are initiatives and we ride together for the initiatives. And those
Mm.
initiatives have these KPIs, and that's how we determine, okay, the client dropped the ball on that. The agency shouldn't be penalized.
Right.
The agency got this wrong and has to redo the work. The client shouldn't have to pay for that extra time, right?
Right.
And I don't even know that once we get into it, that we
Mm.
start to see uh, the financial commitment the same way. I think retainers in a different mindset
Mm.
where there are like modifiers, right? But the ultimate thing is we're going to be moving faster. We're going to have to move faster. And to do that, we can't get caught up in the bullshit. He said, she said. Sorry. I think I just almost had like an old rap song. It's all about the he said, she said bullshit. Okay. Um, and Limp Bizkit's from Jacksonville. So here we go.
There you go.
All right.
On brand.
Yeah. But I think that's a big part of it too, is just we have to make sure that we're in a situation where there's enough trust, and the trust is built by these shared KPIs and transparency, that we're not slowing down to figure out what happened. I think we have
Mm.
progressives, we don't have retros, right? Like
Mm.
we're every 2 months we're sitting down going, okay, how are we doing? What could we do better? Um,
Right.
it's almost like coaches and players in a sport, right? We're going to
Mhm.
get through a week, we're going to take a look, we're going to see what's new. Yeah, we may trade for new people, we may this or that, but we're in it together at least for a season.
Mm. Mm. So it's interesting. What I'm also hearing is, to take a step back to where you're saying the CMO, the operations leader going, all right, let's not do this internally. Let's find a true expert outside.
Mhm.
So if you take that mindset, they got to have, knowing that they could do it internally, they have to have a strong reason why that they would really trust someone outside, which is that
Right.
domain level expertise that you're talking about, right? Which
Mhm.
also brings up the hyper specialization, right? Because you really have to understand their situation if they're going to have confidence in going externally. And then on
Yep.
top of that, you're talking about that true partnership collaboration with outcome based, accountability, pricing, perhaps. So all that lends itself to really becoming a hyper specialized shop that
Yeah.
says this is what we do and we don't do anything else, but we are the best at it and we're accountable to what we do. In fact, our pricing is based on that. That sounds like the message is going to resonate with some of these corporations. Am I understanding that?
Yeah, absolutely. An example, we used to help big universities with fundraising. I never thought of us as being in higher ed, but here we are with Columbia University, and we were hired to help them raise money. We had never done that before,
Mm.
right? Why they hired us, I still don't understand. I know they're very smart, but we ended up hiring an expert to come in who had focused on nothing but fundraising for universities. And that made us suddenly much more aligned with what they needed. We were great executors. Like we knew how to create stuff, we knew how to build stuff, but we didn't know what needed to be built. I
Mm.
think going forward, knowing what needs to be built, right? That higher level strategy. But also, it's not just raising funds for an Ivy League school. Now it's raising funds from Saudi Arabia for this. It's like there's a extra
Right.
layers of specialization that have to go in. And that's where you become the shop that has done this 30, 40 times. They talk about
Mhm.
heart surgeons. And the number one metric, we had a lot of hospitals for clients too. The number one metric people look at is not the number of successful surgeries that heart surgeon's done. They look at the total number of surgeries. People care more that they've
Mm.
done it a lot than
Mm.
that they've gotten it right every time, which still blows my mind. I would
Mm.
much rather have somebody who's done it 50 times and got it right every time than somebody who's
Mhm.
done it 500 and got it right 400, right?
Mm.
But human nature, we trust people who have just done it a lot. And
Right.
so I think that becomes how we get hired. I think the way clients find us is going to become interesting. I haven't really looked at that or cracked the code on that yet. if I'm
Yeah.
cracking the code on anything. But we're going to have a marketplace, I think, of agencies who specialize in these specific things. And I think we get down to 8 or 12 people. Like we're really sustainable in this one space.
Hmm.
And we're able to evolve really quickly because we don't have layers of
Yeah.
people that we have to deal with the culture shift and this and that. It's like everybody's on board for what we're doing.
Right, right. I just want to note some of the roles that you've mentioned as well in the past, which is like that CEO for the vision
Yeah.
and client relationships. The CEO,
You're pulling
translating
up
that vision
LinkedIn posts. I like what
into
you're doing
daily.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, I you got some gold there. I had to dig it up. That COO to translate the vision into daily execution.
Yep.
And embracing the power, I like this, of a hybrid human slash AI team. The fractional CFO, AI strategy, which
Yep.
is responsible for evaluating and implementing and governing the AI usage. Data scientist, right, which is different. That's turning client and internal data into predictive insights and real time decisions.
Mhm.
An automation engineer, right, building those automations that free up the team to really think and create. Client innovation officer, turning those client needs into new service models,
Mhm.
not just a project. Those interdisciplinary consultants, which is kind of what you were talking about earlier, bringing in
Yep.
that expert, and then a product manager for like the services, which, as I understand it, maybe the project managers of today would kind of evolve into that role. So, how do you think
Yeah.
about the current roles evolving into something like this?
I think they could. I think project managers, a lot of people don't realize project management's a leadership role. Like, a lot of people look at it like front lines, taking all the bullets and all that kind of stuff, but they're really a leadership role. And you often see
Yeah,
them, the
100%.
the path forward for project managers operations. That's normally where they end up going. So I could see them making that move. They could move into that product manager. They could also move into that operations kind of role. But the
Hmm.
reality for me is that project managers are so organized and really good ones are so even keel that they'll also be able to keep the agency on track, right?
Mm,
So from the inside, they'll be like, hey, it looks like we're about to miss this KPI. That's going to cause this to happen to the client. That's going to cause this to happen to our finances this month. If we were to make these changes, then we should get back on track within a couple of weeks.
right,
I'll let the client know,
right. Which is what
right?
project managers do. Good project managers do
Exactly.
today.
It's what they do today. And I think that stays.
Mm,
But I don't think it's seen as a secondary or an entry level role anymore. It becomes one of the most important roles in the organization.
mm. So one thing I'm wondering about is, like you and I, we've been in this game for a while, the agency game. We have a lot of experience. Yeah, yeah,
Little white in that beard. Not
a
yours.
little bit.
Epic beard, by the way. That's a great beard.
Thank you, thank you. Definitely got some silver coming in there, but yeah, man, it's interesting because we have a lot of experience that we could pull from. We could probably pick a niche and go, okay, well, we have you know
Right.
10 great examples in this industry, this vertical. But when you're talking about clients evaluating an external partner based on their volume, or a COO or a product manager really being someone that's evolved from a PM role, but do you really want to put someone in that role unless they have a lot of experience? So how do the newer folks, how do the newer agencies, really get ahead in this world that's quickly coming fast?
Well, and that's a great question because I'm not seeing a whole lot of new agencies, right? You don't see many new founders. You don't see many small
Mm,
shops. And I think part of it is they don't think of themselves as agencies.
right.
I think they're already moving into this role where they are specialists at something.
Mm.
And then they just start doing that more and more. And then they add people to help them do it, much like somebody who is doing an agency. They just don't identify that way, right?
Do they even use the term agency?
No, the ones that I've met don't. They think of themselves like, well, okay, that's not fair. Maybe they do, but they don't think of themselves as a digital agency or this or that. I met this group up in Montreal. Um, we were having a local meetup and they came over from an incubator. So when we do these local meetups, if I'm there, I'll reach out to incubators and startup hubs and all this stuff. It's like, hey, send your people over. We're going to be talking about what's going on right now in the industry, and it would be helpful for them. And we'd love to hear from them what's going on in the the formative stages, like what you're working on.
Sure.
So they walked in, and you would have thought they were either casing the joint or they were just like they were so uncomfortable. They were probably in their late teens, early 20s, right? And when I just walked up, I was like, "Hey, what's going on, fellas?" And they said that they'd come over from the incubator. And I said, "Oh, tell me about your business. What do you do?" They were an influencer agency. Okay. So, but they weren't influencers for people, they were influencers for brands. How is
Okay.
that not just a regular agency? Right.
Right.
Well,
Right.
for them, it was because they specialized in video. Okay. How is that not just a video shop? But
Hmm.
um, they were able to show that they could get 300, 500,000 views on a 2-minute video for their clients.
Mm.
And they were only charging a couple to 3 grand for
Oh,
each one
wow.
of those. So what we told them was, you got to raise your rates. They're
Yeah.
like, we can't, we're too young. Look at us. And we were like, find an old person, put them on the website, let them handle the books if you trust them. But so I think there's this, but if you look at that, they're hyper specialized. They have one thing they're doing.
Right.
They're not doing it in one industry,
Yeah.
but
But the service
they've,
itself.
they've done it 20 times, 30 times. They've got the reps in.
Yep.
They're able to show repeated, success.
Hmm.
And that starts, to me, that's where the new shops are going. I don't think they have to get into it. I think they're starting there
Hmm.
because that's what is going to make them successful. That's how they're going to be able. Now, they're going to have problems because they don't know how to charge, but none of us know how to charge when we start, right?
Yeah.
We all undercut ourselves because we're convinced we're not worth it. Well, maybe not all of us. Maybe that was just pre 2012, the craftspeople. Post 2012, the folks coming out of college with starting web shops, they were a little more business savvy. So maybe I can't paint
Yeah.
everybody
Maybe.
with that brush.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I think when we start looking at the current shops, I think we have to reskill and upskill. I think that there's a huge opportunity for the fractional folks
Yeah.
at least in the next 3 to 5 years while we're transitioning to whatever ends up happening next.
Hmm.
But when you see your CMOs and your COOs and your CFOs, I think all of those folks are going to be fine.
Interesting. Interesting.
I
So that
think
makes
they're
me
going to,
think like,
because we
yeah,
don't
no,
want them, we don't want them full time
right.
because we don't need them riding with us all the time. We just need them making sure that the business is okay.
Yeah.
Right. While we're taking care of our client and making sure that we're delivering the best we can on this longer journey.
Right. Right. So that video service, to go on that example,
Yeah.
was those are kind of social ads that they're doing that they just figured out the formula for.
Yeah, they're doing TikTok videos is what they were doing then. It was about maybe 18 months ago or a little bit longer. But they were doing TikTok videos and also doing Instagram videos, reels, and that sort of stuff. And
Hmm.
they were like all 30 seconds to a minute. And they had cracked the code on creating these viral brand videos that didn't look like ads.
Hmm. So, it makes me wonder if there's going to be a problem in the future because, like, if you go back, I mean, there's still some agencies of record, but that's kind of an outdated term these days, right? Because it's not really, brands used to just pick this agency of record and then they would handle everything and they had that
Yeah,
single point of contact. They've now moved away from that, obviously more in-house teams, but then externally they'll have a video agency, they'll
yeah,
have an advertising agency or a branding agency. And so that agency of record is kind of broken out into a handful of different agencies that they're now
right.
consulting with. But what you're talking about, if we follow that trend, are we talking about these agencies sort of handling a roster of like 15 different deep specialists to really cobble together the outcomes that they want?
Depending on the client, yeah. I mean, 15 would be a lot, but if you're working with like a Fortune 500, that may be it. I mean, because the other thing is human nature, right? no matter how many folks are involved, clients still want one throat to choke, right?
Right.
And so I do think that there will be shops in the lead and they're bringing other shops up, but I think, or bring other ones in. But
Mm,
I do think, holding companies, all that kind of stuff, I think that'll still exist. So
mm,
it could be that there's an umbrella company that's got all of these specialist shops, but we are more like modules that you plug in,
yeah.
versus carrying all this weight of stuff we can't keep busy all the time.
Yeah.
How many people have somebody on the bench, right? And it hurts your culture, it hurts performance, it hurts everything. But if we're smaller and hyper specialized and plugging in with a client who knows our value, and because we've shown it, we've repeated it a bunch of times,
Mm-hmm.
and they can relax their sphincters enough that we can just move forward together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be a big part of it. And I think this does come from that project product manager, as well as the CEO, is keeping clients comfortable, just like we have to do today. But the
Right.
difference is we have to keep them comfortable with the truth,
Mm, mm-hmm.
right? Not keep them comfortable that we'll get it done. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
make the date. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
make sure, like we had CBS Sports as a client, right? And there is no more nerve-wracking call than when you have to explain to your client that the data stream is not working for the fantasy league that is launching in 2 days
Mm-hmm.
and it has nothing to do with you. You're not
Mm-hmm.
the one who created the data or the data stream. The data stream's just jacked up. And
Mm,
so for me, the difference is in the past, the client would hold the agency accountable and be frustrated and angry and all these things. And I think moving forward, the client I don't want to say understands or even that they don't get upset, but they know it's got to be a team effort to get it fixed. It's not going
mm,
to be, you don't just assume something was one person's responsibility, right? This is a team sport. There are going to be superstars. There are going to be people who just do great work and all this kind of stuff. There are going to be people like your Aaron Draplins who are always going to float around and be able to do, $100,000 logos in 5 minutes on a napkin, right?
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think the majority end up coming back to this like team focused, external, internal. There is the agency that is managing these relationships,
Mm,
um, because we're going to understand, being so connected with the client, where the handoffs and the pitfalls are,
mm,
and trying to make sure we bring people in at the right time, release them when their service is done.
mm,
But for the core agency, for the main shop that's connected, I do think it's a long run.
hmm.
And we're also the ones who know who's doing great work out there, right? Like it will be a marketplace, I think, but I think we'll also know, we'll have a core group that we turn to all the time, and they'll turn to us sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we have 5 clients or 10 clients. I think we truly have 2 or 3. One would
Mm.
be way too risky,
Yeah.
but I think it's one of those things where the teams and the number of clients just get smaller. That's
Interesting.
the only way we can stay hyper focused, not only on our specialty, but on making sure we're actually going to deliver because of these shared KPIs.
Do you think because there will be more collaboration, more connection with the agency and the brand, that there will be need to be a little bit more connective tissue there reflected on the brand side as well? Like, do you see a
Oh
new
yeah,
role kind of emerging within the brand that really gets into the weeds with these agencies more so than they currently are?
I think so. I hadn't really thought about it, but Adam, now that you bring it up, I think so. Because there can't be an internal team and an agency team. There just has to be a team.
Right.
It's that us versus them thing is always such a nightmare.
Mm,
And in order to move fast, we can't have those kind of little political squabbles,
right.
right? So I do think that there will be that equivalent, and it won't be an agency manager. It'll be somebody who's got a functional role, but they'll be the person at the front. They'll be the lead for the internal team,
Mm,
and they will meet with the lead for the agency. Not unlike what happens now. I think the
mhm,
conversations are just a lot different,
mm,
right? I think because we are on this trip together now, we are trying to work together and achieve goals together,
Mm,
not just deliver a product because somebody put it on a list for somebody to get done.
right, right.
Otherwise we're just order takers
Yeah,
and we won't survive that.
right. Yeah, I agree with that. Interesting. I know you haven't talked too much about, and it seems like there's a lot of question marks around the biz dev side of things, but I'd love to pull on that thread a little bit. I mean, how
Yeah.
there's thousands of agencies in the United States. I really
Yeah,
do
over
think that
100,000 evidently.
over 100, that I've heard that stat before a
Yeah.
couple times. That makes sense to me based on what I see. I mean, we work with a ton of agencies. There's endless.
I know
It's like an
20 or
ocean.
30 here in Jacksonville, so there's gotta be, yeah.
Not to mention all these smaller,
Mhm.
maybe boutique shops that up and coming that don't even call themselves agencies. So,
Mm.
and to your, if they keep hyper specializing, that I think will help the saturation issue.
Yeah.
Um, but how do the clients? I mean, it would just be a beautiful thing if every single brand found the perfect agency for them,
Right.
right? Because sometimes it's
Well,
just
yeah,
not a fit, and it's like, how can we make that whole process better so
I think
everyone
this
wins?
is funny. I was at, it was some event, right? An ad fed or AMA or whatever, like one of the old school, groups,
Yeah.
and there was an agency and a client and who worked together on stage. The the client ended up being a good friend of mine. Once I stole him from the agency, but they were up there and the agency was talking about the importance of client relationship and how you have to think about this as a marriage. You're in it forever and blah, blah, blah. And the client went, well, we're not in it forever. It's like there's going to come a time where we evolve and we have new needs, and what you've given us is great,
Mm.
but it's done. And I swear to God, 5 shop owners walked up to that stage and said, hey, Aaron, let's have coffee, man. Let's talk. It was
Nice.
like 3 weeks later, I'm working with them. But I'm so
Wow.
cool. I'm so glad I could share that story of how cool I am with you.
That's pretty
Um,
savage.
but I think it still stays true. Um, I think we work with clients for a longer time period, but I don't think we're with them forever. I think there will come a
Yeah.
time where the specialty that we have done as much as we can for them, and then that will show other initiatives and other things they need to work on to get even better, and we probably won't be a fit for that. But when it comes to biz dev, I think it almost becomes almost like the medical model, where you have like a general practitioner, and then you got specialists,
Mm.
right? And so we may find that we really need to make sure we're talking to the general practitioners as the specialists, right? So there will still be shops that are not specialized, but they will be really good at a certain look or a certain technology. They're still going to be specialized, just not necessarily in a client area.
Okay.
And so it almost feels like we're going to have to start marketing to each other more,
Mm.
because that's how we need to get to the client. Because the other part is, and I do think that, I'm trying to remember this now, account based marketing, shit has never worked. I mean, I'm sure some people have done it and it's gone well, but every time a shop owner tells me we found 100 clients, we're going to spend $10,000 just getting in front of these 100 clients, and then we're going to spend all this time, we're going to build this thing, we're going to make this happen. Um, and then 6 months later, they're like, yeah, that didn't work. Um, I think there is something to it if you really are focused on just what that client needs. So
Mhm.
I think there will be marketing that's just much more targeted.
Mm. Mhm.
Whereas right now, if you look at it, and I got an email today, right? I mean, I get a lot of email, and the one today was trying so hard to know me, right? Hey, I see you're in Jacksonville. Go Jags, right? And then at the end, it was like, oh, you went to the University of Florida. Do you ever do the gator chomp? What human would ever ask, do you ever do the gator chomp? Like,
Mm.
go Jags, fine, right? But I think that becomes, there's so much right now that's just spreading out and trying to get a little bit of information to everybody, just see if anybody nibbles back.
Yeah.
I think as we go forward, because we will be so tight in this one domain, that we'll make a name for ourselves by sharing that with other people in that domain. And I also
Yeah.
think that it's still, clients are going to still have their bubble that they don't want their competitors knowing this or that, but they'll still have
Mhm.
egos. They'll still get up on stages with us. They'll still be a part of our podcast. They'll still do all those things so
Mhm.
that their audience and wherever they go next, right? Because that's the other thing. Clients will still go and find new jobs. We had one client at Chase in one department, and that department got closed and sent people out. And a year later, we had 4 financial firms instead of
Hmm.
one because of those people going out. So I think that's another part of it. Just making sure that the connections you have are so good that when they leave, they
Right.
want to bring you with them. So,
Yeah.
I think everything becomes more complicated as I think we start to pull back from the web
Mm.
because we don't trust things as much because everything is being just faked.
Mhm.
And that's where human connection and human referrals are going to become so much more important.
Right.
So we have to make sure the humans on the client team, the humans that work with us, the humans that we know of or pull in for other projects, we have to keep these relationships really healthy because I think that's the main flux or the main way we're going to find new business.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, being on the biz dev side of things at White Rabbit, the relationships are so important.
It's
And it's like
everything now.
the analogy I like to think of is like watering a plant. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you can do that consistently every 3 months, but if that plant needs to be watered every month, it's going to die. And so you really got to understand, each relationship is unique, and you really have to nurture it on a individual basis. But I do think that there is some opportunity on the outbound side of things of automations and scaling things. But to your point, it can't be done in that sort of fake way because we just see right through it. Yeah, with the like, come on. It makes
Did
me think
anybody look
though.
at that? What are you
I
thinking, man?
know,
Yeah.
dude. I don't know, man. It's pretty. I mean, people are trying. We're all trying
Yeah.
to throw things at the wall and test what works. Um, One idea that I think might have, like, if I'm Nostradamus here with you for a second, I think because cold email, for example, is so easy now. I mean, we used to send maybe 400 emails manually per month, and they were
Right.
very personalized emails.
And
But
real.
now, yeah, like super, like we're seeing, for us, we do, development with agencies. So we'd say, hey, we see that you have, 50 employees, but only one developer. Do you ever need extra support, dev support? And that's a way to like really identify with their situation. But I think in going a step further now, because it's so easy to sort of automate that whole entire thing, why not use email now as an act of goodwill? Like if you're going to have 1,000 touch points a month or 2,000 touch points a month, why not be a true active goodwill? So of course, identify your target market, use AI for all
Mhm.
that to really find someone that's likely to be a really, really good fit, but use as an opportunity just to give them something completely for free without anything in return. And then those ones that, you know, say yes, so you just send it their way, right? And then they remember you, and then maybe
Yeah,
you
yeah.
check back in a few months or a year, whenever. But that sort of thing, I think, is much more effective than, hey, do you have 15 minutes for a phone call? I saw that you're in Jacksonville and da, da, da. You know what I mean?
50 minutes. Yeah. I actually have a rule in my email that if anything says 15 minutes, it goes in a different folder.
Really?
It's
Smart.
so common,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
like, I just 15-minute call, grab this, blah, blah, blah. No, I think you're right. I don't think cold outbound or outbound is gone, right? But I think it has to be like what you're saying. Like, for example, Nick Petrosky at Promethean,
Hmm.
we've been working together for 4 years. I asked him a few months back, "Hey, how do we meet? Like, who connected us?" He goes, "I cold emailed you, dude." And I was like, "What?" So
Yeah.
there are things, but and he happened to hit. He was doing research. I looked at the domain, looked professional. We had a serious need. It was just he hit us at the right time. So I
Right.
do think there's that repetitive nature of sending out good things, real information, valuable content
Yeah.
that will get on people's radar, that will be like, "Oh, yeah, Adam sent me that thing, and it was just really valuable, and so I wanna make sure." The other thing is, we used to do this all the time. And this is kind of, it's almost like a Joe Rinaldi's mining for old gold thing.
Mm.
But every time we lost a project, I would write down in my calendar 2 weeks before, and I did write it down. That was back in those days. 2 weeks before the project was supposed to be due, I would call the client, the prospect, and I'll be like, "Hey, I just
Love that.
saw what was going on. I know we didn't get it, but I just want to see how it was going. I'm excited to see what the other team came up with. I'm so glad you called. We're having trouble. We couldn't quite get through." I was like, "Yeah, that was an aggressive schedule. I felt bad for the team that got it." Right.
Mm.
So it's like, I think there's also just opportunities when you see somebody else doing great work, a client,
Right.
then reach out and say, "Hey, that was dope, man. Like,
Yeah.
that was amazing what you just figured out. We're working on these things that we think are kind of cool." And maybe you find a love connection, but it's got to be something where it's not just that you see a city or a college or this or that. You have to really know what that person has shared. That's the other thing. I don't think you can go there. Like what you just said with, we see you have 50 designers and one developer. Like, okay, you can see that on a website, right?
Right.
But if you were to email me and say, "Hey, I just saw it was your mom's birthday," I'm gonna be like, "The what?"
Yeah.
Right? It's like creep show, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's that level too. That
Mhm.
I mean, if there's one thing AI can't do, it's read a room,
Mm.
right? It can't pick up on nuances. It can't
Mhm.
read a phrase and think that's off.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I don't know why that triggers me, but it's like the word cohort,
Mm.
right? AI is going to use that all day long. It bugs the crap out of me. It's just like how some people
Yeah.
can't stand the word fine or okay when somebody replies and goes, "Okay, did you really mean it?"
Yeah.
But AI is never going to see that. They're never going to feel that. So I think when we look at marketing, I think yeah, personalization is important, but it
Yeah.
is that psychologically okay
Yeah.
personalization. So,
Totally,
and
man.
these
Yeah.
are the things too. I mean, I can see where there will be, just like today, specialized marketing and PR shops for agencies to help them get in front of those clients. I think that's totally a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And another thing too, I had Peter Kang on. Um,
Nice. I love Peter.
yeah. Yeah. He's got some
He's
great
old school
content.
bureau, baby. He was 2013, I think.
Oh, was he really?
Mhm.
Yeah. He's got a lot of great content. I really like his stuff, and I love how he's got these agency habits. And
Yeah, so cool. Yeah.
another guy I follow, I'm sure you've heard of him, Corey Quinn.
Yeah, I know Corey.
Um, yeah, it talks about niching down and gift giving, and I think that's another area where it just seems like it's underutilized, like
Yeah.
really finding an exceptional gift that they would really appreciate, not just like a bottle of wine or something
Yeah.
generic, but something really cool, something that you'd want to put like on your shelf behind you. Cause you got you're very intentional about every single thing there. How good of a gift would it have to be to get on that shelf? And I think that's the mindset. Like I have a
I'm
best friend.
I'm trying to
Dude,
see if
love your
anybody's on there. Uh, no.
I feel like that could be a whole
We got
podcast.
Baker up top. We got business of expertise, but Luke Cage is kind of bugging him there. We'll give David his little business of expertise plug. No, that's a great point.
Funny.
You know what I'll say is hilarious is
Mm.
my psychologist, when we're having our calls, occasionally he'll be like, "That's new. Why is that there?"
Nice.
Early on, he had me actually walk through everything that was that was here and why it was here. But no, it's a good point, right? It's like you can pick up so much information. I'll tell you who is the absolute best at gift giving
Hmm.
is Carl Sakis.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
really?
Yeah, I mean, it's like anytime, like I have this "Don't Stop Retrieving" mug because he knows I love golden retrievers. And
Wow.
that mug is not something I drink coffee out of. It's on a shelf at home next to an illustration that was a gift from Eric Regan at Focus Lab
Mm-hmm.
when Sherlock, my boy there, when he passed away.
Oh,
Eric commissioned from somebody in his company this hand drawn illustration. So I think you're right. I mean, and you know what? When I see those, I think of Carl, I think of Eric, right? Rob Harr sent me this really wonderful, horrible. I forget what you call them, but it's like a picture frame, but it's dimensional, and then it's got things within the frame. But it's all based on this bet we had on football, where I ended up having to take him out for a really nice steak dinner, and I see that. So I think you're right, but it is one of those
Right.
things where I think you also have to know the person just a little bit,
Yeah.
right? They have to know who you are before you come into
Mm,
their world with that
true.
gift, that very personal gift, even if it's just a call, right? Even if it's just something like that. But I mean, that's been true from the beginning. Like I remember back in advertising in the early 90s, we would always be like, we need to find something smart to throw over to the client, right? We need to, stay in touch with all the articles you're reading, all this kind of stuff. And then when Google shows up, the save searches for your clients' competitors' names.
Mm,
So you can let them know, hey, we
okay.
just saw so and so is doing this. It's probably something we should consider. Let us know if you want us to put together a proposal. We would hate for you to get left behind because blah, 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 which is a little bit of a fear tactic.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's effective.
Yeah.
And if you're paying attention more than they are, not only to the things that they like, but the things they need to accomplish,
Yeah.
that's when you become invaluable, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. Last comment on my side on that is something that I thought was really good was my best friend he's got this little contraption that makes wax, like it melts the
Okay.
wax. And then he's got a cool stamp. And so every week he'll do a handwritten letter to someone. And
That's
then just, it's like a routine, a little habit. And it's
yeah.
so thoughtful and it looks so cool and it feels so special, like something you just never get. Um, yeah, I feel like doing more of that is
I,
helpful.
I agree. You know what? Actually, hold on a second. I'm going to show you something. Uh,
Yeah,
so I forget I'm wearing a microphone.
that's right. We're with you all the way.
I was about to yell, and I realized don't do that. So if you know Jesse Roblowski, his company, he's got a new brand called Decommoditized, and so he did these like, what type of supervillain are you?
Mm,
And I'm a
mm,
vigilante, and so it's all about your marketing style, though, right?
okay.
So imagine you send these out to clients and you get this like, this is the originality over optimization, the anti-algorithm spray,
Oh
right?
my God, I love
I
it.
think it's just black spray paint. I haven't really looked. You get whatever this is. I think this is like a big eraser.
Okay.
A poster. You get the second copy of his book, Marketing for Supervillains. You get a sweet T-shirt. You start throwing stuff around. Um, but you
Oh my
know,
gosh, love it.
this is the kind of stuff that I
Hmm,
think, dimensional mailers, real creativity, like these are the things that are going to open doors. There
hmm,
was a shop. I think they were called Little Big or something like that, and they would create prototypes for clients. And this was before you just crank out a prototype in the afternoon, vibe coding, right?
hmm,
They would create a prototype for a client, like a big client, and they would send it to them and say, hey, we were just thinking this would be a cool thing for y'all to do.
hmm,
And it would be a functional prototype,
hmm.
like on the phone or, on their laptop or whatever.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, well, isn't that, oh God, I can't believe I'm blocking on it now. Uh, Free work. What are we talking about here?
Like pro
Um,
bono type of stuff?
no, not pro bono. The stuff we're never supposed to do. Uh, but anyway, they would just be like, there's no cost for this. We just thought it would be cool. We like to build these things. We thought it would be fun.
Okay.
And they'd get like 1 out of 10 would say yes. And
Wow.
for the hundreds of hours they put into those 10 prototypes, they would land a client that was going to end up building it, which would be worth 1 million plus, right?
Wow. Hmm.
So that spec work, that's what I was looking for. I had
Back
somebody
work,
who
yeah.
once said, in that spec work, I said, it's only spec work if they ask you to work for free. If you choose to work for free, that's called marketing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that's what they would do. And I think now that's another one, right? We have this opportunity to take a lot of the work we do, repackage it quickly with supportive AI, and say, this is what it could look like for you. Right.
Totally. Yeah.
And to me, that's, I never hear of people doing that. Like,
Mm.
instead, we lean in on email blasts and newsletters and podcasts and all that stuff, which I still think is important because we need that bigger general awareness.
Mhm.
But when we can see specifically into a client's needs and we have something close to it and we can repackage it,
Right.
like we were working with Busch Gardens and their Halloween Horror Nights equivalent of what Universal does, right? And part of it was I just sent them all these photos of me and my family at Halloween Horror Nights in Universal. And I said, "Hey, we know this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
we're big fans. We spend money on the backstage tours. We do all these things. So if you want somebody who can build something for your customer, we are your customer,
Yeah.
right?"
Yeah.
So things like that, I think we drop the ball on that a lot as agencies. I think we
Mm.
get too busy. We pull people off of marketing to function on the paid work, and then
Right.
that leads to the feast and famine cycle. As much as we've learned, I think we still fall back into those traps sometimes.
Man, for someone who started off by saying they hadn't really figured out the whole biz dev thing, she sure had a lot of ideas there, Carl. Jeez, I'm inspired. I'm ready to
I'm
go.
glad, dude. Oh man, my favorite was you can't do this anymore, I don't think, but um, the biggest success we had in a campaign. Maybe you can do this. Maybe it's easier now. Uh, we went to Dun and Bradstreet, and I researched every company that had grown in terms of headcount more than 200% in the last 18 months or something like that. And I would send them a letter. And the letter would just say, "Hey, it looks like you've experienced a ton of growth. I'm sure your internal systems are starting to fall apart and you're trying to figure out how the hell do you keep it all together while you're trying to sell these things." Right.
Mm.
And whatever the product was, I'd put in there. And we always had a client that was close enough. Like, we work with Marriott and Epic Games, we work with Bear Pharmaceuticals, all these groups. And so then
Mhm.
I would just say, you know, we know that you're underwater. Don't worry about it. Just put this letter somewhere. And when you're ready for somebody to help, we would just appreciate it. Give us a call. Maybe we can
Mm.
help out. And that was the other thing. I always wanted to, hit them where they ain't. So we would do a lot of direct mail. We do a
Mm.
lot of just stuff in letters and send out 100 every Friday and this kind of thing. And
Mhm.
actually, that's how we got Bear Pharmaceutical.
Mm.
They had just landed this new COPD product, or just created this product, and they were trying to take a 700-page booklet. Booklet. It's not a booklet. Binder. And it was about how you had to live if you had COPD, like things you had to prepare for. If you
Mm.
were going to go to the movies, it was a 2-hour prep.
Hmm.
Um, and they wanted to make it a website, a searchable website. So when they got our letter, they held on to it, and because they knew
Mm.
that was going to happen. And then they called us, and it ended up being a $300,000 project off the cost of a stamp.
Wow.
So it's like, to me, that's the other thing there. And I think AI will do this, but, and you mentioned it, right? When you see, like, you saw that they had 50 designers and no developers, but if you see a major change in an organization,
Mhm.
they're hurting. And
Right.
they don't know how to go through it. So that was another one that was, like, really
Mm.
effective for us. Yeah.
Dropping
I miss it.
dropping
Can you
gold,
tell I
man.
miss it?
You sound like you miss it. Yeah.
I loved
I
winning,
have to
man. I did.
bring
I
you on
loved
as a
pitching.
fractional, biz dev over here.
There you go. Yeah, yeah, man. That would be fun. That would be a lot of fun.
Well, man, this has been a fascinating conversation. I'm really inspired right now. I want to go send some
Oh, I'm
mailers
so
and
glad.
stuff. For anyone else, that's still listening and just as inspired, any other kind of final wisdom you want to share that you think would be helpful?
Yeah, I would say just stay true to yourself. Yeah, work is going to change. Don't. I had somebody. There was a time where I was convinced that I had made it up to the top of this mountain, right? And that I shouldn't have to do certain types of work, or I shouldn't have to this or that. And it wasn't an egotistical
Mm,
thing. It was just like, I'm at this point in my life, right? I'm 58 right
mm,
now. So everything changed in the company, and somebody had to do some of that work that I didn't think I should have to do anymore. And I remember saying, climbing mountains is fun, but you know what? So is sliding down hills. So it's like, don't get too caught up in yourself and where you think you should be or who you think you should be. Just have fun and do great work. And as
mm.
things shift, be okay with it. Just let it happen.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, love that conversation. Carl, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all
Yeah,
that. A lot of fun.
this was
Yeah,
fun,
thanks
Adam.
again.
You made me think, dude. That was rude.
Thank you for listening to the Pixel Perfect podcast, where we go down the rabbit hole on the journey and motivations of creatives and entrepreneurs. Stay tuned for more stories to come. Until next time.